What's going on, ladies and gents? My name is Will, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm a van builder, and I've been in the industry for the past several years. And so this channel is about my life, my experiences, and then my advice to all of those out there that are considering buying or building a van. For today's video, I wanted to go over a few of the most common layouts and then their pros and cons and what that kind of looks like. So as everybody who's in this kind of world knows, there's a lot of different ideas and different kind of styles of builds that are out there. And so today I wanted to go over just a few of the more common ones and kind of list out their pros and cons, and hopefully we can dial down exactly what you might need if you're out there building a van, and clarify some of the options that are out there. So if that sounds interesting to you guys, stick around because that's what we're getting into today. So today I've got a whole bunch of different pictures and whatnot of different styles of builds on my iPad here. So I'm going to transpose this video here over onto your video so you can see what I'm talking about, and we can kind of compare and contrast some different layouts. Let's start with this build right here. So I'm going to zoom in here, and then we're going to get down into the weeds of it. So this is a build by Custom Crafted Vans out in Idaho. You might also know them by Sarah and Alex James. I actually had the pleasure of flying out to their facility this past week and really getting into the weeds of how they build their vans and just kind of what that looks like. So I figured there was no better place to start than with one of their builds that I've got some in-depth details on. So this layout right here, I believe, is their family van layout, if I'm not mistaken. They've got several different kinds, but this is definitely one of the most popular ones. And my favorite thing about this build, let me grab this. And my favorite thing about this build is that it features an elevator bed in the back here. So these are pretty common nowadays, but they're really cool. Essentially what it is it's a bed on a lift, and when you need it, you can lower it down so you can use it, and when you don't, you pull it back up and you squish it against the ceiling, and it's mostly out of the way. What's really cool about this is it opens up the space in the van without you having to put together or disassemble your bed every single day. Now there are some pros and cons of this. Personally, I'm a big fan of it, but for some of you guys out there, especially if you're a little bit taller, this might not be a great fit for you. So as you can see, this is the bed up here as I've highlighted, and then the nice thing is that underneath, typically what they'll do is do a kind of wide bench dinette, which is great because that typically can also collapse down into another bed. So you've got two pretty big beds in here. The top one's typically, I think, a queen size, and the bottom can be almost as big as a king. So this next picture gives you a little bit more of a view on the back. So as you can see, this is the elevator bed up here in this section. And then what they usually do here is they'll actually go with a U-bench configuration. That's, I think, what they found works best for them. And there are some pros and cons to this. So one of the biggest cons with these elevator beds is that they limit the height of the van on the inside in the back. So as you can see, it sticks down quite a bit. I'm not sure exactly how much it is, but it's gotta be at least 6 to 10 inches. So for those of you that are tall, it kind of might be a little bit of a pain ducking back in there, but it's definitely useful and it's manageable. I've been in one of these builds myself, and I'm 5'10", 5'11" on a good day, and I do have to duck down in there pretty good. So for those of you that are a bit taller and you don't want to have to deal with that, you might want to explore some other options other than this. But if you have a family or you want to go camping with a few friends of yours, this is a great option because, like I said, you can fit a lot of people in here relatively comfortably. Now, one thing about the U-bench in the bottom that I'm not a huge fan of is that I think one of the biggest pros to having an elevator bed is that it can open up the walkway so you can access the van from the side door and also the rear door. Personally, I really like having these kinds of open layouts because it kind of increases the usable space in the van. But another big con of the elevator bed is that you lose a lot of storage space. So as you see up here, Typically where you would have some upper cabinets on either side of the van, you can't have that because the bed comes all the way up to the ceiling. On top of that, if you were to leave this open aisleway here, you would lose the storage space here, because on this side over here, this is typically your water storage space for your water tank, your water pumps, etc., and your heater. And then on this side is your battery bank. So you're not able to actively store anything there. Now, they do have this little spot right in the center that you can store some things, but it's still not a lot of space. So the biggest pro here is that you gain the ability to sleep a lot of people, but the biggest con is that you lose a lot of storage space. So let's keep scrolling down through here and see what else. So yeah, this, as you can see here, this is a big open space. So if you've got a lot of friends that you want to have in this van, you're able to sit probably at least 6 people on this U-bench back here. So if you've got a lot of people, that's great. This is great for families and people that want to go out with their friends, but their friends don't have any other place to sleep. So you can sleep 2 to 3 people if you cram them up here, and 2 to 3 people down at the bottom. So that's a great option to have. Now, another nice thing about their builds that they'll do is that sometimes they can also configure in a rotating bench seat here. And that's a really good option, once again, if you want to travel a lot of people or if you're a family that has kids. I definitely like that. And if we scroll down here, you can see, yeah, this bench swivels. So you can open the space up when you're not driving and make it a little bit easier to access. And when you are driving, you're able to swivel it back around so it's facing the front if you wanted to. I don't think you really have to do that, but I'm sure you probably would want to anyways. Another nice thing is that this also can fold down into another sleeping space, I believe, and then you can sleep even more people. So if you've got a lot of people that you want to pack into your van, perhaps explore the elevator bed and maybe the rotating bench seat. If not, you can get rid of the bench seat, you can put a wardrobe there or something like that, and it still works plenty well. Moving on to this next build, this is one of my all-time favorite builds that I've ever seen in the van life space. This is a build by Nicole and Eden, and they are incredible. This is, like I said, one of the most aesthetically pleasing vans I think I've ever seen, and this also features an elevator bed. Now, the thing that makes this a little bit different is the location of the bed. As you can see here, you've got a partition wall between your front driver and the back of the van. This is really good for insulation, especially. I've built a partition wall in my last van, and comparing it to the van I've got now that has an open cab, it's the insulation is, the insulating factor of the partition wall is like extremely noticeable. So that's a great feature here. If you're going to be traveling in places that are either really hot or really cold, you might want to add a partition wall to get some of that extra insulation. Now, another really cool thing about this is, like I said, the elevator bed is up here in the front. So this is your side door over here on the right, and your elevator bed sits above there. Now, as you can see, there's a nice little L bench here that that's right up in the front and in the entryway. And I really like that because, once again, you can sit a lot of people in this van, but you're not taking up as much storage space by having the elevator bed in the back. No. And you're not taking up as much storage space by having the elevator bed in the front. As you can see, you've got your door here on the right that the elevator bed sits in front of, and you wouldn't be able to put any upper cabinet storage there anyways. So I think this is probably a better solution to the elevator bed than it would be in the back. This here is just another view of the front. As you can see, you've got your L bench here, which also does convert down into another sleeping area. And then you've got your elevator bed up here, where, as you can see, you don't have any upper cabinets over on this side, but over in front of the door, you wouldn't be able to put them there anyways. So all things considered, you're opening up about half of that upper cabinet storage when you do the bed up here in the front versus the back. Moving out to the back of the van, this photo right here shows just a little bit of the mid space of the van, I would say. You've got a kitchen here, and then some upper cabinet storage here, as well as on this back side over here. I don't really think there's any pros or cons specifically of having the kitchen in the middle, but this is a good space for it, especially as we move to the back of the van. So as we move out here to the back of the van, this is also one of my favorite parts. Now you can see right over here, this is the actual bathroom of the van. So you've got a shower head here, upright. I'm actually gonna change the color of my highlighter and see, that works a little bit better. So as you can see, this is the bathroom back here. It's a very open bathroom. I like the fact that you can access it from the back and you can open it up. If you're in a little bit more of a private location as well, you can just leave it open and have a really sweet view while you're showering. I think that's a really cool feature, especially because leaving it open, you're not gonna get any water anywhere that it's not supposed to be because it's just outside. As you can see, you've got your shower head here, and then this is your Nautilus shower door right here that closes off the space between the front and the bathroom. Another really cool thing about this is it does have a slide out toilet right here that will slide out into the bathroom when you need to use it, and you can tuck it away when you don't need to. Another really cool thing about this build is that it does contain a garage space. Now it is a little bit limited because you do have your toilet that slides in there, but checking out right here, this is a good storage space for any camping equipment or anything like that that you don't want up in the front. Now, as I mentioned in the last layout, you do lose a lot of storage space and there's pretty much zero garage space in the van. And so I think doing a layout like this and having a garage space here in the back is a good way to compensate for that. So all in all, I do like this layout a bit more than the regular elevator bed in the rear layout. Because you still get that open aisleway, you still get the garage space storage, and you get a little bit of upper cabinet storage given back to you if you were to use it. Now, one of the biggest cons of this layout is the lack of kitchen space. So as you can see, we've got some space here with your sink, and then you also have a little space with your stovetop and just a little bit next to it. If you're going to be cooking a lot, everybody who ever cooks knows you need a lot of space because it gets messy. Now they do have a flip up table here to kind of help compensate with that. So all in all, I think you probably have plenty of space, but in comparison to a fixed bed layout with a big kitchen in it, this still isn't quite as much. One of the other nice things is that you are able to squeeze in this big wardrobe here, which is a lot of storage. It's a lot of storage for clothes, and then you've got some drawers underneath of here for some pots and pans and stuff like that, and you've got plenty of storage space down under here. Now, I'm not entirely sure what lives under here. There might be some components. I'm sure there's plenty of plumbing and whatnot, which probably does eat up some of the space. I also don't know what their water tank situation looks like here, whether it's mounted inside of the van or underneath. So there is a chance that some of this space is being taken up with storage for other components. But for now, let's just say it's open storage space. All in all, like I said, I really like this layout. I think this is very good for people that have a lot of friends, but they still want that extra storage space to be able to go out and pack all your things out and be out there for quite a while. So this is a beautiful build. It's done very well by Nicole and Eden. Now I will say, before I go on to the next layout, another big con of this one is that your AC unit cannot be located over your bed. Now here, I think this is okay because it's roughly centered in the van. This is your AC unit here, but oftentimes, if possible, it is good to put your AC unit over the bed because especially at night, I mean, that's where you're gonna be. You can deal with heat during the daytime when you're getting in and out of the van, but once you lay down at night, you wanna be comfortable. So it's nice to have that AC unit blowing on you while you're sleeping. And when you do an elevator bed like this, you can't do that because once your bed is up, it's blocking the unit and it's not able to be used. So having it in the middle is okay. Mine is in the middle and it cools down the van just fine. I did it that way because I wanted a big roof deck on top. And it seems to work all right, but that's just something to keep in mind if you are planning on camping in some pretty hot locations during the summertime. Now this one does also have the partition wall, which is great for insulation. But if you are an older couple, you're probably going to want to go with a bit more of an open cab because it makes it a lot easier to move back and forth. I'm sure whoever bought this van probably walks around the outside of the van to the sliding door more often than not to get into the back because you do have to climb over your bench seat here in order to access it. It's access for emergencies, it's access for rainy days, and that's what really matters. but it's still not quite as convenient as having an open cab like some of these other ones do. Moving on to this next build here, this is also one of my favorite ones that I've ever seen. This build is done by Lucas Revisa, and he's an incredible builder. This one inspired me a lot, especially on my last one. I believe this is probably my favorite one that I've ever seen, minus Nicole and Eden's. But this is another elevator bed, believe it or not. I know we're going over a lot of these, but there are different ways to do it, and there are the pros and cons of these different builds. So as you can see here, we're looking in from the back, and you've got a double bench seat here as well, and your elevator bed is up here. So nice thing about that is, once again, you've got that open pathway. This one doesn't have a U-bench, it is an open floor, so you can walk in and out either side of the van. But one of the things that I really wanted to touch on is what he did in the front. So as you can see here, this has a corner shower. So this is situated right behind the driver's seat. What's really cool about this is he actually put in a pass-through from the cab to the rear through the shower. So as you can see, this is actually a different build, but it's the same layout and the same concept. Right here, you can see a pass-through, you can see into the cab here, and this is actually the shower right here in this corner. So this is an angled doorway that goes into the living space, and he also has a doorway on the other side to get into the cab. This is really good because you still get the benefits of the partition wall without the inconveniences, because you're able to walk through there pretty easily. It's a full standing length there, and all in all, I think it makes it a little bit more accessible. Another really cool thing about this build is he actually decided to go with putting the garage space in the front. So this is your entryway here, as you can see. This is your corner shower, and then next to it is a pretty sizable garage space here. And it seems you can store a good amount of camping equipment or anything like that in here. I'm sure you can probably fit skis or probably a snowboard in here as well, which is a pretty sweet thing to be able to do. Now, another big con of this layout and this build is that the toilet is stored under the wardrobe. So it's out in the main cab. So if you need to use it, everybody has to get out of the van unless you want them to see you do your business, which nobody wants. So if I were him and if I were to redo this, I would definitely do a sliding pull-out toilet that lives kind of in the bathroom space, similar to how I did mine, because it gives you a little bit more privacy without having to kick everybody else out of the van. All in all though, I think this is a great build. Now you do still lose the upper cabinet space in the back, which is unfortunate, and you also lose that garage space in the back, which is pretty sizable. Now you do make up for it in the front here a good bit, but still, another thing to consider, depends on how long you think you're going to be gone, what all you think you're going to need, if you need hiking and camping gear, etc., etc. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about doing your layout. Lastly, I wanted to compare all of these to the build I did myself. Obviously, as you can see, my build does not have an elevator bed. It's got a fixed bed back here in the back, which is really good because you get quite a bit of storage space underneath here. The depth of this garage space is the width of the bed, which I believe is 5 feet, and you've got plenty of space between there. So if you wanted to store some snowboards or quite a bit of gear, you're able to do that under here. The nice thing is that you also get all of this upper cabinet space down the length of the van, which is about 10 feet worth of cabinet space. So it's huge. You've got plenty of space to be able to access all of your clothes and anything else you need. You also have a kitchen that is essentially 5 feet long here, and that gives you plenty of space for your fridge. It gives you plenty of space for any pots or pans or anything like that, or dry foods. And you're also able to install a pretty sizable fridge in here, which is very nice. It saves you a lot on your food storage. Another thing that I really like on this build, as opposed to perhaps the Sarah and Alex layout, is that the shower is in the front directly behind the driver's seat. Now, if any of you guys have been in a van that has a full shower, especially if it's in the center, you know it takes up quite a bit of space. It comes out a little bit over 2 feet from the side of the van, and that's over a third of the width. So one thing I would definitely like to see a little bit more of is having the shower directly behind the driver's seat here, because you gain a little bit of space in your entryway because obviously you don't put anything there, you're walking in that way. So having the biggest thing where you've got the most amount of room makes the most sense to me in order to keep things from feeling too cramped. Another really big pro of my build that I really like is having the angle in the corner of your shower right here. This just makes the pass through a little bit easier, especially because it is a tight space inside of a van, so you want to make it as easy as possible to move around. I also matched that same angle on the corner of my kitchen galley to kind of make it a little bit easier to get through. I think all in all, when you're building vans like these, you need to start with what you're going to be using it for the most. Now, Nova is definitely designed for 2 people, but you can also bring out other friends with it as well. It's got a queen size bed in the back, and it's got a dinette in the center that seats 2 people. That also converts down into a lounge space. So it's nice if you want to have some more friends in there, you want to seat them in there. We also have a swivel seat on the passenger side, so you can fit probably up to 4 people in there comfortably without having to stick anybody on the bed. I will say another pro of having the open cab space is that it does open up the space in the van, the usable space, quite a bit. Like I said before, there's a big con with losing a lot of insulation. So keep that in mind. I think it depends on kind of where you think you're going to be going. But another nice thing is that these units that are built into these vans are very efficient and they work very well. So just keep that in mind. Everybody's different, everybody's experience is going to be different, and your needs are also going to be very different. Another thing about my build that I really do like is that your toilet is not stored in your shower right here. I believe a lot of other people will do stationary toilets, and I just don't really like that because number one, it's an eyesore, and number two, you lose a lot of that space in your shower. Another nice thing about this is that now that the toilet is not stored in the shower, you can actually shrink the shower quite a bit and open up some of that space elsewhere in the van for either storage or kitchen or seating, because you don't have to make the shower wider in order to just make it usable with having the fixed toilet in. So having it on slides does allow you to have your shower quite a bit smaller than you would if it was fixed in there. So now that we've gotten through all 4 of our builds for the day, I just wanted to say thank you guys for watching. I hope this helps somebody out there. I'd like to do a little bit more of this as well. So if you guys see any builds that you might want me to review and give my 2 cents on, definitely send them my way and I will do so. I'll keep my eyes peeled for anything else out there that looks interesting that I think we should go over. And I'd also like to do a ranking of some other kinds of layouts as well. I'll throw these ones in there, but I'd like to kind of keep doing this because I feel like it's useful for those that are out there thinking about buying a van or building ones themselves. You know, this might be able to touch on some things that you might not have thought of, especially being a little bit newer into the world of van life and living in these things. So, all things considered, thank you guys very much for watching. I really appreciate the support so far, and I will see you guys in the next one.